And lipid transport. So lipid transport, if lipids aren't water soluble, so how do you transport them? We do have free fatty acids and some free cholesterol and lipids, but most of them are transported in special ways. And remember back here to our pancreas and pancreatic duct, and then our common bile duct here. Bile is important. Why? Because again, your liver produces bile acids which it secretes as bile salts, and these are made from cholesterol. And remember, cholesterol is a lipid, and cholesterol is hydrophobic. But these bile acids, they're mostly hydrophobic, but they have hydrophilic parts. So this is why we call them amphipathic. They have both hydrophobic and hydrophilic properties. Now what we have here, and we did talk about emulsification. So what happens is that with emulsification, you're digesting a really fatty meal, you have these fat globules in your intestine. Now what is your body going to do? It's going to take the bile salts and then dissolve these fat globules by integrating these bile salts with the fat globules. So these bile salts are going to, so the hydrophobic part of the bile salts is going to easily dissolve in the fat globule, but now you have all these hydrophilic parts facing toward the outside. So the cool thing is bile is kind of like your body's own dish detergent. What it does is breaks apart these fat globules into smaller globules, and since you have the hydrophilic part of a bile salt facing toward the inside of your body, the interstitial fluids and your blood and other fluids in your body, this is why your body is able to more easily absorb these fat globules and hydrophobic compounds. Alright, so then now we're finally in our intestines. So we dissolved all our fats with these bile salts. So we made a bunch of micelles. But what do we do now? Well, the thing is that you have all these fats, and you have things like cholesterol and triglycerides and other fatty acids dissolved in this little micelle. So micelles are the ways of transporting lipids in your digestive system. And what's going to happen is word wrapping. So what we have are enzymes called lipase. So again, this E should be here. But lipase is going to break apart. This is the enzyme that breaks apart lipid or triglycerides into glycerol and fatty acids. But what happens is that lipolysis, so lipases do lipolysis that liberates fatty acids from these micelles. And what lipase does is lipolysis, and then this is the enzyme that actually cleaves apart that triglyceride and frees up those fatty acids from the glycerol backbone. So again, glycerol is not technically a lipid. It is carbon containing, but again, it's hydrophilic. But the thing is that why aren't triglycerides hydrophilic? Well, you have these big hydrophobic fatty acids. This is why triglycerides don't dissolve easily in water. Now the thing about these lipases, sometimes they don't do a complete job. Like they cleave off some of the fatty acids, but maybe there's a fatty acid still hanging on to glycerol, and this is what we call a monoglyceride. So when you have one fatty acid still stuck to glycerol, that's a monoglyceride, compared to triglyceride where we have triglyceride where we have three fatty acids stuck to glycerol. So monoglycerides are interesting because they have a hydrophilic part with the glycerol backbone, but they still have a hydrophobic part, so they are kind of amphipathic as well. So what we have here are the micelles in our intestines, and then they're being broken apart via lipases and freeing these free fatty acids and also some monoglycerides as well. So these monoglycerides and free fatty acids, now they're going to be absorbed by all the villi and microvilli in your intestines, and then they're going to be transported through these cells called enterocytes. And these enterocytes are going to absorb these free fatty acids and monoglycerides and then repackage them. So we have all these free fatty acids over here, and then they're going to actually repackage them in their endoplasmic reticulum. And then in this endoplasmic reticulum, they're going to make them into triglycerides again. And now they're going to make these special special membrane containing, or actually not membrane containing, these special little bubbles called the chylomicrons. And this is how you get these lipids into the lacteals. So they're not just going to take the fatty acids and dump them raw and just as is into the lymphatics. They're actually going to make them into special packages, these chylomicrons. And these lacteals carry these chylomicrons into your lymph and eventually your veins. And then what we have here, so the lacteals are going to go back to your circulation, because remember, our lymphatics, they're not only important in terms of returning lymph back to your circulatory system, they also bring these chylomicrons back into your circulatory system as well. And then again, our lymphatics over here. And chylomicrons, well, what do they look like? You have all these phospholipids, just like the phospholipids in your membrane, but you have all these triglycerides on the inside. So triglycerides are hydrophobic, but now they're being protected by the, so again, phospholipids, they have the hydrophilic and the hydrophobic part. But now the hydrophilic part of a phospholipid is kind of forming a water-soluble shell around this core of triglycerides. And there's also these special type of proteins called apolipoproteins that also are part of the chylomicron structure. Mostly triglycerides, again, this is what we have here. It looks like a bunch of French fries. Yeah, maybe that's one way you can think of it. A bunch of fatty French fries stuffed into a little ball that's floating around in your blood. But surrounded by amphipathic molecules, again, the lipid tails of a phospholipid, they're easily going to associate with these triglycerides over here. And then very little amount of cholesterol at this point. So their main thing is to, okay, now you're going to get these lipids you absorb through your GI tract and get these lipids into your body and to your liver. Now, yet another reason number 30-something that your liver is so important. Your liver is not only important in metabolism, but it's also like the big air traffic control or Amazon warehouse, or I shouldn't say Amazon because, yeah, it's like Jeff Bezos. But yeah, so then, yeah, it's a big warehouse, and it's basically a big way of like, or maybe I'll use it like postal service. It's supposed to like, it's able to receive all these fats you absorb through your intestines and distribute it to the rest of your body. So it's a big distribution warehouse, and your liver is going to absorb these chylomicrons, take these fatty acids and repackage them. And this is another interesting thing too, yet reason number 30-something again that your liver is important. Your liver makes cholesterol as well. So it can take fatty acids and make new cholesterol if you need it, or if you need more steroid hormones. Again, steroids are made from cholesterol, so this is why you need to synthesize cholesterol in your body. But if other lipids, if it wants to use it and transport it elsewhere in the body, it's going to make lipoproteins. Now, lipoproteins, there are many different types, and these are important in terms of like to transport lipids from your liver throughout the rest of your body.